After 16 years as a political commentator, I thought I knew how cynical the world of politics can be. But honestly, this one is it's pretty bad. Follow me on this one because this is as Machiavellian as it gets, with the Victorian Premier willing to risk open war with their own police and rampant crime on their streets just to backstab the man who was supposed to be their ally. My name is Topher Field. This is the Topher Project. I help people like you to understand the world as it changes around you. Politics is a dirty game. We all know that, but they mostly keep the really nasty stuff out of the public eye. But not this time. Former Victorian Police Commissioner Shane Patton was forced out of his job after a devastating vote of no confidence from the police members themselves. Well, that must be because he was crap at his job, right? It was because he couldn't get the pay deal done, or because he was the out of control youth crime, that's why. Or maybe it was even because of his spineless response during COVID, right? Wrong. Shane Patton is a cautionary tale of what happens when you try to fix problems with politically inconvenient solutions rather than perpetuating problems with politically expedient lies. Let me say up front that I am no Shane Patton fan. I think he should be in prison alongside a lot of other people for the human rights violations which occurred on his watch during the COVID lockdowns. But you don't have to like the guy in order to learn from the way that he was used politically. Follow me here, because once you see this, it will change how you view politics forever. Patton became the police commissioner in mid-2020, just as the anti-lockdown protests were heating up, with yours truly on the front lines. Now, I have some contacts inside Victoria Police, and they assured me that Patton would be a good police commissioner, that he would lead a back-to-basics revolution, and that he wouldn't participate in a lot of the nonsense that has defined Victoria Police since the reign of Commissioner Christine Nixon, which is when I would argue that the Victoria Police lost their way. But those assurances proved to be empty, and as so often happens when good people are given power, Patton quickly followed in his predecessor's footsteps, and some of the worst human rights abuses in modern Australian history were carried out under his watch. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'd encourage you to watch my multi-award winning documentary, Battleground Melbourne. It's free to watch at battlegroundmelbourne.com. But that was just the first controversy that Patton was embroiled in. Not long after the COVID lockdowns ended, the police union began agitating for more pay and better conditions. This coincided with a post-COVID slump in morale, higher turnover of frontline officers leading to officer shortages and crime spreading fast as Melbourne found its new normal post-COVID. To make matters worse, the Andrews government, which Patton was appointed by, had reformed bail laws so that breaching bail was no longer considered a serious crime, and magistrates kept releasing young, violent repeat offenders even after they committed 10, 20, even 50 offences. This small cadre of hardened repeat youth offenders quickly ended up on a first-name basis with a handful of Victoria Police officers who would arrest them on Monday, see them be bailed on Tuesday, and then be chasing them again by Wednesday. It's fair to say that we have a Rex Hunt justice system in Victoria. You remember Rex Hunt, the fishing guru. He had a TV show. If you're over 45, you'll know who I'm talking about. He used to catch him, kiss him, and let him go. And that's what our courts do with young offenders in Victoria. Needless to say, police morale dropped further as community frustration skyrocketed. The union dug in even deeper on its pay rise demands, and Patton found himself in a hopeless position. You see, the Victorian government just would not give in to the police union's demands for that pay rise, which is weird, because they gave in to the CFMEU demands for massive pay rises on government construction projects. They gave huge pay rises to other public servants, including themselves as politicians, of course. They showered money liberally on all the people who helped them get into power and keep power during the divisive COVID era, but not to the police, who enforced their totalitarian lockdowns, without whom every one of those politicians responsible would have been chucked into the Yarra River by an angry mob of desperate people whose lives were being destroyed by lockdowns. They stubbornly refused to give the police that pay rise. Why? Why would that be the hill that the Victorian Premier is willing to fight and die on? Well, because actually, it was the hill that the Victorian Premier was planning for Shane Patton's career to die on. You see, Patton post-COVID was becoming a problem because, according to my sources in Victoria Police, he was getting vocal about youth crime and about the bail reforms, which had led to this catch and release justice system, and which in turn had led to crime getting out of control. And now that the fear and the panic of the COVID era was over, I'm told from people on the inside that in about 2023, Patton began to return to his back to basics roots, and he was offering real, practical police solutions to the crime crisis before the crisis had blown up into what it is today. But the Victorian government did not want to fix the crisis. That would be politically disastrous because it would mean admitting that there was a crisis and that it was their own bail laws that had caused it. What to do? Firing Patton now would raise too many questions. There had to be a better way, and there was. Simply refuse to give in to the police union for long enough, and the police members will do their dirty work for them, declaring no confidence in Patton and providing the former Andrews, now Allan government with a nice, clean, easy way to get rid of him. Now, it took some time, but in February 2025, they finally got what they wanted, and they hoped maybe now they'd be able to shuffle Patton out and replace him with a new police commissioner who wouldn't rock the boat, and all would be well. But they didn't count on a little thing called reality. You see, in the world of politics, they believe that optics is reality, that if they can manipulate the optics of something, then they can manipulate the reality. And sometimes they're right. If you can control the media, then you control the message, and you control what people do or don't see, or, in other words, their reality or perception of reality. But when it comes to something like, home invasions, carjackings, and machete fights in the streets, that's a reality that you can't really hide. So what do you do if you're a politician? Do you own up, take responsibility for the crime crisis and for knifing the police commissioner who could have fixed it? Do you admit that you were wrong and that he was right and then resign? Gotcha. That's a good one, isn't it? I'm so funny. Obviously, now that he's gone, you tell the world that really he was the problem all along, that he was the reason the crime was out of control, and now that he's gone, you can replace him with someone that'll actually fix the problem. And that is, of course, exactly what they're saying, without quite saying it. The new Victorian Police Commissioner, Rick Nugent, has come in making big promises about bail reform. Quote, "It's clear that bail laws need to be strengthened," end quote. That's what he told the media in his first press conference as acting commissioner, and he's right. But why is he saying that? Bail laws are laws. They're a function of Parliament, the legislative branch of government. The police commissioner is the executive branch. He has no ability to pass or to change bail laws. So why is he talking about the need to strengthen them? The implication of a new police commissioner talking about fixing the bail laws is that the old one is the reason why they weren't fixed already. He's drawing your eye away from the actual problem. He's taking your perception away from where the problem lies, which is the Andrews-Allan government, who could have fixed these laws at any moment in time because they control the legislative branch of the Victorian government. This is a classic Fall Guy scenario with the extra finesse of having the police members doing the backstabbing for them so that Jacinta Allan didn't have to. And as is so often the case, the person who wasn't the problem is gone and is copping the blame, while the people who are the problem carry on as brazen as ever. The good news is it looks like we probably will get reform of the bail laws and some of these problems will get fixed. But the bad news is the people who created the problems, they're still in positions of power. But the former police commissioner Shane Patton isn't having it. He's making sure that people know that he had the solutions all along. It was the government that ignored and sidelined him right up until the final weeks before he was ousted. Now, there's nothing you or I can actually do about it in this particular case. What's done is done. But always, always, always look out for this in future. When you see something out of place, like the government awarding huge pay rises to some unions but not to others, or telling you that a crime crisis that you can see with your own eyes doesn't really exist, ask yourself why. And when you see people taking the fall, never be fooled, because the real problems are coming from the people driving the bus, not the ones being thrown under it. My name's Topher Field. This is the Topher Project. I help people like you to understand the world as it changes around you. And if you've enjoyed this, if this has helped you to understand a little bit more about what goes on in politics, then leave me a like, a subscribe, a comment, and don't forget to watch my documentary, Battleground Melbourne, at www.battlegroundmelbourne.com, and grab my books and merch from goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com as well. I'll see you in the next one.